Hey guys, it's Smudge here, and this evening I want to talk about something a bit different. I've already put up some videos featuring DCS modules and different aircraft, but tonight I really just wanted to talk about DCS itself, what it is, and what it's all about. Now, DCS started out live in November 2003 as a game called Lock-On Modern Air Combat. Since then, however, it has progressed. It's been through 3 upgrades, I guess you could call it. It got developed into something called Flaming Cliffs. Then Flaming Cliffs 2 came out, which saw improvements in physics and dynamics and the flight models, everything like that of the aircraft improved. And then Flaming Cliffs 3 came along, which is in essence what we have now, which is DCS, or Digital Combat Simulator. Now, DCS is it features DCS World, which is 2 free aircraft. Yeah, that's right. The actual core module, DCS World, you can get completely for free. You can download it from the DCS website, or you can actually download it from Steam as well. Now, in that, like I said, you get 2 free aircraft. You get a ground attack aircraft, which is the Su-25T that we see in the picture here. And just recently they added a TF-51d, which is a version of the Mustang. Now, the TF-51 is completely unarmed. It doesn't carry weapons. But the reason that they put it in is because it has a complex flight model, and it's also a fully realized cockpit. So it's fully clickable. It's as close as you can get to actually flying the aircraft without actually sitting in a cockpit. Whereas the Su-25T, which is the other free aircraft that you get, it has an advanced flight model, so it is quite complex to fly, but it's not as high fidelity as the likes of the other modules like the A-10C and the P-51. It doesn't have a clickable cockpit, but it does have quite a few systems that you can control. It is quite a complex aircraft in itself, even though it doesn't have the features of some of the other modules. Now, they're the 2 that you get for free. Now, the way DCS works is that it's modular. You get DCS World, that's free, like I've said, but then after that, there's extra aircraft that you can buy, and they range from $20 upwards, depending on if they're on sales or specials and things like that. Now, the aircraft that we have currently, and this is due to expand very rapidly, because there are quite a few like third-party developers and people making new aircraft for the game. So the aircraft that we have at the moment are the A-10C, and that is definitely one of the most complex aircraft in the game. It's quite an easy aircraft to actually fly, but the actual management of the aircraft, like the startup sequences, managing the onboard computers and systems, as well as the weapon systems, is incredibly complex. Now, going along here, you have combined arms, which is not a module I have because it's not ever really kind of taken my fancy. But in combined arms, you can manage tanks, so like drive tanks and APCs, and you can manage so like combat scenarios through like a god's eye view and control a battlefield through that, which in itself is pretty cool. But for me, DCS is more about the aircraft and the flying. You have the next module along there is the F-15C. Now, the F-15C in this is it's a module much like the Su-25T, where it's not clickable cockpits. It is kind of more of an entry-level, easier to learn aircraft. But again, it is still quite complex in its own way. That there are things to manage like the radar, some avionics, but the most, it's much less of a brain teaser and much less complex than the likes of the A-10. But the F-15C, as well as quite a few other aircraft, you get inside the Flaming Cliffs 3 module if you wanted to buy that, and that includes the Su-25. It has the Su-25T, which comes with DC World. It has the F-15, an A-10A, It also has an Su-27 and Su-33, as well as the MiG-29. Now, if you don't know much about aircraft, I'm probably just spouting numbers at you there, but you know, they're all kind of more modern type combat aircraft. Now, the next module along here is probably, well, it's not the newest, but it is fairly new, and it's made by Bell Simtech, and it's the F-86 Sabre. Now, this is again, it's a fully complex, fully realized module, much like the A-10C. It's fully clickable cockpit, and it has a very advanced flight model. Again, it is as close as you can get to flying the aircraft without actually sitting in the cockpit yourself. Then after the Flaming Cliffs 3 module, we have the FW-190D9, which is the newest module. And this is developed by Eagle Dynamics and a company or a group called Yo-Yo. Again, it's fully realized, like the A-10C and the Sabre. It has quite an advanced flight model, and it is quite a lot of enjoyment to fly. The next one is actually the first module that Eagle Dynamics released after Lock-On and Flaming Cliffs, was the Ka-50 Black Shark, or the NATO designation, the Hokum, which is it's an interesting helicopter to fly. As you can see in the picture, it's got a double rotor or coaxial rotor, and it makes it an incredibly easy helicopter to fly. But again, it does have some complex systems and also complex weapon management as well, which becomes, you know, quite enjoyable to learn, and it is quite an effective helicopter. Now, the next module along is the Melmi 8 MTV, which again is by Bell Simtech, who make the F-86 Sabre and also the Huey on the end there. And I've also put up a video of that so far as well. It's again quite a complex helicopter to fly. It's definitely quite a handful, and it's got quite a few weapon systems on there. It's a heavy transport and fire support helicopter. Then we have the other World War II aircraft in this, which is the P-51d Mustang. Again, that's a very enjoyable aircraft to fly. You know, there's quite a lot of fun. And DCS is, you know, it started out life as a modern combat simulator, but a lot of the modules that they have planned span from World War II through Korea with the Sabre and soon the MiG-15. Into Vietnam, we're soon going to see a MiG-21. There's also talk of things like F-4 Phantoms and other jets from the Vietnam era showing up, through to more modern aircraft. And there is a group called VAEO, I believe it is, who are doing more modern Air Force aircraft. I know that we're going to soon see the Hawk, which is the aircraft that the Red Arrows use, or the Goshawk, which is used by the US Navy, or at least was used by the US Navy, along to such sims as the Eurofighter. Now, I don't know how complex they're going to be, because again, the Eurofighter is quite a new aircraft, especially in the Royal Air Force and European forces, and a lot of the aircraft that are featured in this have been older aircraft which they've had full access to, so they've been able to fully model. But again, I guess we'll soon find out what they'll be like. And then on the end here, of course, we have the UH-1 Huey, which is a classic Vietnam helicopter, and it's also in use today. And again, as you can see up here, it's made by Bell, or Bell Simtech, and that's a very, very fun helicopter to fly. Now, in DCS, or Lock-On, or not Lock-On, sorry, DCS World, it is quite a complex simulator. It is designed to be that way, but it is also accessible by people who have never really played sims or flight sims in the past. It does have quite a scalable kind of dynamics to it. You know, it has an arcade mode, which is simple flight dynamics. You know, you can fly the aircraft into the ground, it'll just bounce up and survive. It's got easy radar and easy locking systems, and then you can scale it all the way up to being fully realistic, where you have to manage the aircraft and you know, fly them as it would be in real life, or as close as you can get. Now, if we have a look in the options, now this can be a bit daunting to when you first look in here. But again, you have all of the options that you'd normally see in other games. You have your resolution type settings, you've got texture settings, and all of them are selectable. So if you don't have a very powerful computer, you can turn a lot of these down, which will allow you to run the aircraft, run the game or the simulation much smoother. Now, certain things in here, like the cockpit resolution, you can turn this all the way up, but I keep that turned down just for smoothness. And what this controls is the amount of pixels that you have when you're inside the cockpit. So if you're having frame performance, especially with things like cockpit shadows turned on, which you can turn on here, by turning that down, you will find that you have a much smoother experience. Controls wise, now this is where it all starts getting very, very daunting, because you have all of the aircraft that you own in the controls list, and each one of them you have to program separately. So if we look here at the FW190, you've got easy controls, which is when you're in the arcade, and then the real controls, and then you can click all, and for some reason it's not doing it at the moment, but it should show you a full list of the controls down there, which I don't know why that's not working at the moment. Let's see if we can reload that. No, that doesn't seem to be wanting to show me the controls at the moment, which is quite interesting. Gameplay options here, again you have game flight mode, which makes it easy to fly, and game avionics, which means that you don't have to manage the aircraft, you can just switch it on and away you go. You don't need to manage things like engine and engine temperatures or advanced weapon systems. So if you are new to flight simulators, you can find your feet here and then start advancing up to the full realism that's available. Again, tooltips, things like that. So if you can't read Russian in a lot of the cockpits, or if you don't fully understand what the buttons do, that's very handy to have on. Permit crash recovery, so if you crash, you can just respawn in a new aircraft, which is always good. And then you have all of your options there to make life easier, like unlimited fuel and weapons and immortal. But personally, I have been flying this since 2003. When the first lock-on came out, so I believe I have the required skills in order to fly it fully realistic. And that's what I enjoy. I enjoyed running on full simulation. Again, audio controls, you can kind of control what you hear where, and if it gets too loud, you can turn things down there. Miscellaneous controls, these are mostly to do with multiplayer type controls, and also just miscellaneous controls, things like showing the pilot's body when available, random system failures which crash your computer. Crash systems inside the aircraft, not your computer. That would be a bit silly, wouldn't it? And then things like head force movement by G-forces, so when you're pulling, the camera will naturally move about. And then in special, this is quite an important place, you've got individual options for the different aircraft, like having auto rudder. So if you're having a bit of trouble controlling the aircraft in turns or on takeoff, you can switch these controls up in order to make life easier as well. And again, you can set different controls for all of the aircraft that you have. Now, other things I do love about this is that it has a very complex mission editor, and you can get really into depth with that and create scenarios that you whim, things that you enjoy doing. Anything from just simple static targets through to full battalion strength, armored column movements with air support and fire support. You can, honestly, it's crazy the amount of things you can do in that mission editor. But if you're not into that sort of thing, there are quite a few other options here. You have instant action, so you go in, you choose an aircraft, like the Su-25T, and then you've got easy things from just taking off and flying around all the way down to difficult close air support missions, which involve things like complex air defense and lots of units moving about, and you can quite easily get your tail shot off flying missions like that, trust me. Again, you have create a fast mission, which is very good. You can go in there, you can choose an aircraft that you like. So let's say today I wanted to fly the UH-1. You can choose which country you want to fly that for, so say the UK, because, why not? You can choose starting airborne from the ramps, choose your opponents, and then away you go, sort of thing. Now, there are missions and campaigns, so if you load up this, you've got missions I've created, and then you've got missions that come for all of the different aircraft, and you can load them up and adjust them as you like and flying around. There are campaign missions, and then you can load this up. select an aircraft, and then fully realized campaigns that happen over several missions. And on some of these, the results of one mission can have an effect on the next mission, depending on how they're played, which is really quite interesting. So, as you can see, so far there are a lot of depth into this already, and for something that you can get for free with the SU-25T, there's a lot of hours that you can put into this game, and a lot of hours that you can lose learning how to fly and how to control the aircraft. And if you don't know a lot about aircraft, it does have an encyclopedia in here as well, so you can go through that. You can have a look at all of the aircraft that are in the game, and trust me, there are quite a few. So if you think, oh, what's a tornado? Surely that's a thing with high wind that destroys houses. But no, it's actual aircraft flown by the United Kingdom and Germany and Spain, a few other countries. So if you want to know what a tornado is, it's not a cyclone of high wind. It is actually an aircraft. Through to a yak, which isn't actually an animal, it is another type of aircraft, believe it or not. There's quite a few yaks. And again, you can go through, have a look at helicopters. The AH-1W, which is something that we'll hopefully see flyable soon, which I'm really, really looking forward to. Different ships which you can put into the game, from aircraft carriers down to small combat patrol vessels and things like this, including civilian ships. Now this is where there's also quite a lot of vehicles, everything from tanks to unarmored vehicles, APCs, trucks, trains. Yep, so you could even place trains moving along the tracks if that's something that you want to do. And then there's descriptions in the encyclopedia of all of the different bombs and rockets and missiles and bullets and ducks and geese, everything in there that you might want to try and hurt someone with. And again, even for the mission builder out there, if you want to know what a small house looks like, then there you go, that's your small house. So that's the encyclopedia. Now the next thing I really want to look at is the mission editor. And this is an incredibly complex mission editor. It really is. I can't stress that enough. You can do crazy, crazy things inside this. Anything that you can kind of dream up. If you've got the knowledge and the patience, then you really can kind of get to depth with this and create scenarios at your heart's content. Now, if I open up my range mission, this is kind of what I do a lot of my flying in. Again, these are all aircraft, so again here we have a MilMe-8, over here we have the Sabres, Ka-50s and UH-1s. These boxes here are cargo, which you can now do airlifting with the UH-1, which is really fantastic. And then you can generate targets or place targets down. Now on this I've just got static targets, which I use to kind of practice on and practice employing weapons, and all of these blue lines that you have about waypoints, which you can program in. So with the likes of the A10C, they have like advanced moving map computers, which you can program in the mission editor. Then when you're flying the mission, it kind of displays that route on the map in game, so you know which way you should be flying, which is incredibly helpful. And in this, as well as controlling aircraft and ground troop movements and things like this, you can also program in things like briefings. So if you want to write situation reports for each side, so when they join a mission they know what they're going to do. And you've also got dynamic weather in this as well. So if you want to generate a pressure system, so let's say that if we want to create a couple of pressure systems in here and then generate that, as you can see, it starts putting on a weather map. And what this does is that you can actually, if you've got a degree in meteorology, I don't even know what you call that, a degree in weather, then you can program pressure systems to change the weather dynamically as you're flying. So you can take off here and start flying towards a target, and it'll be a nice sunny day, and as you go in, clouds will start rolling in, it'll start raining, and thunder and lightning and whatever you want. So really, the way things go, it is one incredibly complex piece of kit, and something that you can get for free. I really don't think that you can knock this. You know, it really is a fantastic simulator. You know, and if you've never been into simulators before, if you've never given them a try, I'd definitely recommend this as a simulator to try. You know, and that's really it. You know, that's just kind of what I want to talk about, is just DCS in general and what it is. You know, in fact, what I'll do now, or what I'd like to do, is have a quick talk about the P-51d, which is a new addition to the DCS World, something that you get for free. So what I'm going to do is just load up my range mission, which I've got here. I'm going to stop the video now while I load this up, and we'll see you in cockpit, and then we'll just have a quick look at some in-game. Hey guys, so here we are. We're in the P-51 or TF-51 Mustang. Now again, like I said through the kind of introduction part there, that this is an aircraft that you can get completely for free, which I think is absolutely amazing. The fact that they've given this aircraft away at no cost at all, I think is just absolutely is just great. You know, the fact that you can get such a high fidelity aircraft like this for absolute no cost at all is just brilliant. Now the TF-51, it is, you know, just like the P-51d. The only difference is that they've taken out the center center fuselage fuel tank, or center tank, and the radio equipment from just behind the pilot, and put in another seat, which makes it kind of like a two-seat trainer or fun flight, you know, kind of aircraft. Now, one thing with this is that you can't actually arm the aircraft. It can't carry bombs, rockets, or bullets. It is all just about the flying experience. And you know, like I said, you know, it's something for free. So even though you can't fight in it, and even though you can't fire guns at things, the fact that you can kind of pick it up, give it a try, you know, get used to the fidelity of the flight model, I think it's absolutely great. You know, and what we'll do here, I'm just going to take off, fly around, talk a bit more about DCS and a bit about the module itself, you know. So what we'll do here is that we'll just go through the startup sequence. So there I've already put the flaps up, we've put the radiators into ram air. Again, we'll just crack open the throttle just slightly there. I've turned on the generators and batteries on this side. Turn on the fuel boost pumps and the magnetos, and also the fuel cutoff switch, which will then allow fuel to flow into the engine. We'll then prime the engine. We'll hold down the primer here for about 3 or 4 seconds, and that just pushes fuel around the aircraft and into the engine. And then we'll hit the starter. And I'll just wait for the engine to fire. And then we move the master fuel cutoff switch there just down into the start position, then up into run. And that's the engine. That's the engine all fired up. Now, taxiing the P-51 or the TF-51, which is this variant, what you do is that you hold the stick back. This locks the tail wheel, and it allows the aircraft to become a bit more manageable. If you need to make tight turns, you just push the stick forward. That unlocks the tail wheel, and then that allows the aircraft to turn a bit more freely. So we'll just taxi out to the runway here, and then we'll give a bit of a demonstration about what it's like to simply fly an aircraft in DCS. So again, just taxiing out here, using the brakes just a little bit here in order to help turn the aircraft. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about was required equipment. Now, flight sims are kind of one of those games that not a lot of people get into, simply for the requirements. You know, a lot of people think it's quite an expensive kind of genre to get into. You know, the look at joysticks online and all of the other peripherals, you know, equipment that you can buy. And yes, you know, it does add up, or it can be quite expensive, but In DCS, with some of the simplifications that you can make, honestly, you don't need to spend that much money on it. You know, you can get quite a simple joystick, like a. I started out with actually a Cytec Cyborg was one of my first joysticks, and it didn't cost a great deal. It cost me about £30–40 at the time, and you know, it's, as long as you've got a joystick with a throttle, which, you know, I believe are kind of like the bare minimum requirements, then really, you know, you kind of set, you know, everything else you can control on the keyboard. It is something that takes a little bit of getting used to, but you know, it is certainly manageable. Now, the equipment that I use, I have two joystick systems. I've got a Cytec X52 Pro, and then I also have the Thrustmaster Warthog HOTAS system, which is a very expensive stick. It's all made out of steel, but because I enjoy flying the A10C so much, I decided to get that, and it's absolutely fantastic. You know, it's a great piece of kit, especially for a flight sim like this, but like I said, it is relatively expensive. You know, but again, you know, that's something for in case you you know, in case, you know, you start getting a bit more serious into flight sims, you can look at things like that, but it's really not required. So we're airborne here. Now, as you can see, when I'm looking about, it's kind of following my head. Now, this is a thing called Track IR, which, if you're going to start getting into flight sims more seriously, it's certainly something that you want to have a look at. It is a little bit expensive. You know, it's certainly something that you know, you can't just kind of go out there and buy for a couple of dollars, you know, or a couple of pounds. It is, you know, it is an investment, but it is something that certainly works, you know, or something that is really worth investing in if you're going to be you know, spending more time flying flight sims. So here we are, we're airborne here and flying about, and you can see a bit of the DCS World kind of environment. Again, maybe it's not one of the best looking flight sims in the market, but to be honest, I enjoy it. You know, I think it is quite aesthetically pleasing in some respects. You know, it's functional. You know, it really does do a job, and it does that job really very well. You know, it's got very, very long visuals, as you can see here. You can see for absolutely miles, and yeah, you know, it is improving. Now, we are waiting on a graphical update called Edge, and Edge is going to be bringing in more lighting and shaders, you know, more reflections, things like that. Some of the screenshots from Edge look absolutely fantastic, and it's something that I really can't wait for, and it's something that we're hopefully going to be seeing within the next few months. So here we are. Again, like I said, we're flying in a completely free aircraft here, the TF-51. It is, you know, a fully realistic flight model. So if you turn all of the settings up, then, you know, you can have quite a lot of enjoyment flying this aircraft. So yeah, you know, and this is DCS World. This is what it's all about, is the flying, you know. And it's something that I've been enjoying for a very, very long time. And if you want to get into flight sims, or if you've ever thought about giving them a go, then, you know, if you don't mind spending a couple of pounds or a couple of dollars on a simple joystick, then really I'd say, you know, give this a try. You know, it's you know, what's it going to cost you other than a few gigabytes on a hard drive? And if you don't enjoy it, or if it's not really for you, then all you need to do is just uninstall it. And I think, you know, that's a great deal. You know, you can't really turn your nose up at that. And you know, the reason I'm kind of doing these videos is because I thoroughly believe that the flight sim genre is something that needs more popularity. You know, I suppose a lot of people kind of shy away from it simply because of the complexity of it. But if you give it a little bit of time, then the rewards that you can get from it are absolutely amazing. You know, and the sense of enjoyment you can get from flying these aircraft is unreal, you know. And it's quite easy to see why, you know, maybe not millions, but certainly hundreds of thousands of people thoroughly enjoy flying, you know, these kind of sims. And you know, DCS for me is definitely, you know, one of the best. If you know, I think it is probably the best flight sim on the market, especially compared to Microsoft Flight Sim and the X-Plane type series. I think this definitely has the edge in the flight model department. So what we'll do here is we've just had a little bit of a short flight here, so I'm just going to slow down here and circle back around, and then see if we can't come in for a nice landing. So while we're turning here, I'm just going to lower the flaps down, and then we'll lower the undercarriage down. If we look external, we should see those all coming out there. And again, we'll just fly down the runway here and then make a short turn in and see if we can't make a nice landing. And again, as we're flying low here, you can see some of the details that were put into this, you know, rendered trees, train lines, you know, the airfields do look quite realistic. You know, it is, or at least it can be a very beautiful sim. And again, I'm really looking forward to Edge, which will really make the difference, I believe, when it comes to some of the graphical options in the game. But again, it'd be interesting to see what kind of system requirements you know, you have to have for that sort of update. So again, just lining up on a very short final here. Getting a small bounce there, but a fairly safe landing. And we'll just hold the stick back there in order to lock out the tail wheel, which will stop uncontrolled movement on the ground. Now the last thing you want to do with these sort of aircraft is actually hit the brakes when you're moving, or at least hit them sharply, because it does cause the tail to lift, and you can pitch the propeller into the ground, which isn't very good for your health. So we'll just come to a stop here. Again, like I said, they're just hitting the brakes a bit too enthusiastically, and it causes the aircraft to pitch over, but we'll manage to rescue that there, and then we'll just cut off the engine. And that's the TF-51, which is an aircraft that you get completely free, you know, which I think is absolutely outstanding, considering the work that's gone into the flight model. And yeah, you know, if you're at all interested in flight sims, or if you want to you know, at least have a look at this and see what it's like, then, you know, I don't think that you can really go wrong giving this a go. You know, I'd really kind of recommend it to anybody to have a look at. Oops. Kind of popped the canopy off there a bit. But yeah, that's the DCS P-51 or TF-51, and that's DCS World. And I hope that you've enjoyed the video. I know it's been a bit long, and you know, I just wanted to kind of go into what I enjoy most about this. And you know, if you've never flown a flight sim, or if you've never flown DCS, then, you know, download it, give it a go. What's the worst that could happen? And this is Smudge. I hope that you've enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time.